So, a couple questions that have always bothered me in my Chinese language journey are how do we know what Old Chinese sounded like? And why does it seem that in Old Chinese, one character is always one word, whereas in modern Chinese, that's almost never the case? So, some history about Old Chinese and the history of the Chinese language in general. Scholars of Chinese language history categorize it into four areas: Old Chinese, Middle Chinese, Early Modern Chinese, and Modern Chinese, which is similar to the way that historians categorize English: Old English, Middle English, Early Modern English, and Modern English. These dates for these eras of Chinese history are approximate, but they last approximately from Confucius's time to the present day. So over the millennia, the pronunciation of characters has changed a lot. You can see we have three examples of characters here: gui, hu, and hu. In Old Chinese, gui was pronounced klul, and in Middle Chinese, kui, and now in Modern Chinese, gui. Now we see we have hu and hu. One means fox and one means lake, but they have the same pronunciation. But what about in Old Chinese? In Old Chinese, hu as in hu li was gua, and hu as in lake was ga. And then in Middle Chinese, they became hu and hu. So they became homophones by that point. And then in Modern Chinese, hu and hu. And it's also important to note that Old Chinese did not have tones because they were not needed to differentiate words. And Middle Chinese, the development of tones was in progress in Middle Chinese. So as I talked about, Old Chinese is usually one syllable, and one syllable usually corresponds to one word. So why is it this way that a word corresponds to a character in the Chinese literary classics? Remember the previous examples I gave of hu and hu. Because of sound changes, many characters that could once be distinguished based on sound are now homophonous. For example, we have three characters in the table below: shi, shi, and shi. They all have the same pronunciation in modern Chinese. But if we look at what the old Chinese pronunciations were, we can see that you could distinguish them just with one character. In Old Chinese, the pronunciation for shi, as in 战士, was zru. Shi, as in 事情, was zrus. Shi, as in 市场, was diu. So modern Chinese makes use of compound words to clarify meaning. For example, the words that I used in the table: 市场, 战士, 事情. This is necessary because all of these characters are homophonous. So how do we know ancient pronunciations? Fanjie dictionaries help scholars deduce historical pronunciations. Fanjie dictionaries have been published in China for many, many hundreds of years, and they work by splitting the sounds of a character into initials and finals, and using other characters to write down these initials and finals. So, for example, we have three characters here: Dong, Fa, and Dian. Now, these are not how they would be in a dictionary, probably, but just for the sake of convenience, I came up with my own 反切 for these. So dong, you can say, is 大弓切. 大弓 makes dong. Fa is 伏马切. Fu and ma makes fa. Dian, 大剑切. Da and jian make dian. So the meaning of 切 is to cut, and 反切 cuts up pronunciations into different pieces. So, all of this being said, how would Confucius have actually said his teachings back in the Zhou dynasty and the Warring States period? So, here is my best attempt at reading um, this passage from the 论语 in Old Chinese. So, Klong slu guad sleng như lẽ tu tia diang slal grug như lẽ tu tia snis slal kunst như grug tu kus Snislal, Kunst, Nyu, Pu, Grub, Min, Se, Qual, Gra, Glu. So as you can see, the phonotactics of ancient Chinese was much different from modern Chinese. Especially in Mandarin, the phonotactics of are pretty strict, um, and only a very limited amount of syllables can be made in the language. However, in Old Chinese, before all of this implication of the phonological rules, you can make very complicated um, single syllables, such as what would not exist in modern Chinese. Klong, that could not exist in modern Chinese. Guad, all of this type of stuff um, has changed into modern Chinese and has necessitated the creation of compound words, or what we call in Chinese disyllabification. So thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new.